Day 6 of Detroit Lions training camp, and I was there, so I have some takeaways. Let's get right into it. So yes, we're back with another takeaways video from training camp, and this is the first day that I did attend training camp. Now, there are plenty of things that I missed early in practice, especially towards the early 11 on 11s. It was very strong for red zone drills because the coaches were no longer in the way, but they were definitely in the way through the early 11 on 11s. The positive is the first time they went through it, it was all rushing plays, so even though I missed most of that, I couldn't really tell what was happening outside of who was getting the ball, and if there was movement or not. It was all just rushing plays though. But this was a very heavy 11 on 11 day as well as red zone work, so there's plenty of team notes to go through. I don't think there was really any one-on-ones that took place, but I also will be there Monday, so I'll probably have much more notes to go through. So like I said, I'm sure there's plenty of things that I missed today, and on top of that, if I have a player wrong here or there, I apologize. That's very possible that that happens. But that said, I'll probably have a lot more notes on Monday. But shout out to Michael Banks for having me there, man. I appreciate the invite. It was great to be back. We got a cool picture at the end of practice. Ahmed Hassanin stopped by. He was signing a lot of autographs. Shout out to him, getting a picture with him. That was pretty darn sweet. Aiden Hutchison came by very quickly, I should say, but he came by. Hogan Hatt was showing love to everybody, so we got to see a few players after practice as well. But that being said, let's waste no more time. Let's jump right into this. Let's start off with the injury updates that I know of as of now. A lot of players returned. Tylik Williams was back on the field. He was also noticed at the end of practice, signing autographs, I believe, as well, or at least being on the field very late. Alex Anzalone returned to practice. Now, after practice, he was asked if this meant that there was progress towards a new contract, and he stated no, but he was back out there. Now, I didn't really notice him much in team drills. When I first saw him on the sideline, I had to, look at it twice, wait a minute, is that Alex? But it does make sense that he was out there because there was a chant at one point going on for Alex Anzalone. So he was out there just very limited, I believe, within team drills, more so kind of just working off with trainers. But he did return from his hamstring injury, which is definitely a sign in the right direction towards having him available this upcoming season. So hopefully after what Dan Campbell said yesterday, seeing him back today, that he is truly going to be here for us this year. That is the hope, I think, across the board for everybody. Ennis Rakestraw also returned, again, limited to kind of the trainers. I saw him there mainly at the beginning of practice. DJ Reed limited today as well, but DJ Reed stated afterwards that he's fine. Al-Quadi Muhammad returned. I believe he made a nice play towards the end. Some said that he really didn't get reps on 11 on 11, but I thought that he made a nice play towards the end, but he was back. And then Roy Lopez was very limited today as well in terms of actual teamwork that he was getting. But there's a lot of players getting back, as you can tell. Now, still no Sione Vaki working with the trainers. Really no movement there from Sione Vaki, which is a little bit concerning here. It's been about a week for Vaki, so hoping that things continue to progress in a positive direction. Also, no Kirby Joseph today. He just wasn't there. It threw me off when I saw Vontae Maddox with Brian Branch, but he wasn't there, so you had Avante filling into that free safety role. And then Stanley Thomas Oliver, a hamstring injury. I think I know when it happened. It was like a one-on-one. He kind of came up limping. I think he actually gave up a reception. He came up limping afterwards, so hopefully he's okay. He was just taken off the NFI list, so hopefully there's nothing serious there either. But as you can tell, there's a lot of positives in terms of players returning, but it did lead to good opportunities for guys like Rock Ya-Sin, for example, at that cornerback position because of the amount of cornerbacks that we have missing. Eric Hallett was noticeable once again. So I'm just going to roll through these notes, talk about what I took away, and again, if some of these are a little bit off, I apologize, but for the most part, starting off with just some of their individual drills, a couple of guys that caught my eye for the first time, kind of seeing them, as I noted, Rakestraw working on the opposite field, Ian Kennelly kind of in the hoodie, running around, moving around, Alex Anzalone having his pads on the sideline, Malik Taylor flying around. He was the guy that caught my eye through the individual drills because I haven't really seen much of Malik Taylor, and he looked really good. As noted, the first look at 11 on 11, it's a little bit difficult to take away who was having the most success. It was all run plays. It seemed like the defense was leading the way, but there also wasn't that much creativity from the offense. Number one, they weren't throwing the football, so that was pretty straightforward. There also didn't seem to be a ton of creativity in how they were rushing the ball. I mean, they started off with the jet run, but outside of that, it seemed like just a lot of variations of zone rushing plays. Maybe I missed a little bit there based on our angle. I couldn't tell the complete blocking scheme, but it all seemed pretty straightforward. There were some successful runs. The JMO jet for a little medium gain to get things started. The inside ended up creating a lot of traffic. I thought the interior did pretty darn well, especially with the first team, but we ended up seeing a run pop towards the outside, towards Aiden Hutchinson's side. We also saw a false start, which is a problem. That said, though, it seemed like all of these run plays were out of the single back formation, so it all felt pretty straightforward in terms of what they were doing, but we also saw a run get blown up working towards the left side, which you would assume was Marcus Davenport's side. A little bit of success here, but Ahmed was a guy that I noted a couple of times just being disruptive, getting himself into the backfield. I also had Nate Lynn with a run stop as well. A little stretch run towards the left side, which I believe was Nate Lynn's side, that found a little bit of success. And then we got to the third unit. It was Kai Robichaw, who seemingly had a pretty good day across the board. I mean, throughout 11-11s, he seemed pretty successful just finding space and finding positive yards consistently. He's seemingly has had a really strong training camp up to this point now after just seeing him for one day in person, but everything that we've kind of read about Kai up to this point as well. We did see one run really pop with that third unit, getting the shoulder down. I believe that was Kai as well. It could have been small, but putting the shoulder down, getting out into the second level, creating a nice little run there as well. And then Michael Neese had maybe the block I thought of the drill. He created a little bit of movement, a little bit of a drive block, got downhill. That drill was kind of difficult for me to take away, but after that, I started to get much better notes as we kind of move forward. And you'll see these get better as we go forward because of our vantage point. We was able to see a little more as we got going. There was some special teams mixed in there. I thought there was a pancake block from Isaac Teslaa, which was cool to see. That dude is just a monster in person. He's a big dude, and they definitely play into that. We'll talk about that here in a second. Avonte Maddox, again, was successful, I thought, early. I think he had a stop on kickoff coverage, but we started to get into the first 11-on-11 look, and to start off with Sam Laporta catches a big crossing route, running away from, I believe it was Zach Cunningham on the play, just working the middle of the field to get things started. The passes from Goff felt very on time today, and I think this is going to be something with second and third string units. From what we've heard so far, there's been a lot of positives with the backups. Everything felt relatively on time. There was some hit and miss there, I thought, with Hooker at times, but everything felt pretty on time. The defensive backs definitely do a good job of 7-on-7. Quarterbacks check the ball down, that kind of thing. Short run from Jahmyr Gibbs before we saw a stretch that ended up being led by St. Brown. They used him on that fast motion across the field. They ran that direction, and it was Marcus Davenport from behind who shut it down, which means he probably had some push on the opposite side, but he shut it down from behind. And then Shane Zylstra, who was ended up mixing in a little bit. You had another short run where Aiden Hutchinson got into the backfield, creating some penetration, sort of short run there. So, again, I think the first team run defense was pretty strong throughout most of the day. Going from there, we got to see the second team and Hendon Hooker, the movement. They've gotten him on the move a lot. Kyle Allen did this a little bit too. He had a nice little scramble today. Got him on the move, got the boot plays going, started off getting it to Shane Zylstra, who's definitely mixing it with the ones. Craig Reynolds was one of the guys immediately after practice. I was like, I think he had a strong day. I think Lawrence Strickland was mixing in a little bit at backer as well. Like a bubble pass that was incomplete. I think they were kind of cheering because they thought maybe it was a fumble. Maybe it was behind the line of scrimmage. But that was definitely a messy way to get things started. Kyle Allen had a really nice day. 7-on-7s, he was pretty efficient. Seems to process the game really quickly. I'm excited to watch more of him and see where that progresses. It feels like we have a legitimate other quarterback behind Goff that also can compete with Hendon Hooker now. Like it feels good. This is a very early kind of good sense I get there. Kai Robichal had a short run to get things started. Then we ended up having the first massive play, which was Jackson Meeks' one-handed grab. I'm sure this will be a highlight somewhere. Just snagged it. Made a fantastic one-handed grab. They ended up bringing Lawrence Strickland off the edge. I believe this pass was still from Hendon Hooker at this time. They hadn't switched the quarterbacks yet, but they brought the blitz off the edge. He got it off, put it a little bit out in front, and Jackson Meeks just made a fantastic grab. The thing that I was wondering there is if he actually finished the process. I mean, he got up, he popped up so fast that I wasn't actually sure if he finished. But that said, I believe it was also when Stanley Thomas Oliver was injured. He kind of came up limping after that play. Then we had an underneath grab from Dominic Lovett, I believe, and Lovett, man, he was productive. Like, as a rookie, he was super productive. I felt like every time it went his way, good things happened. It was consistently a catch. Here's the big takeaway, and there was a couple of times I noted this in 7-on-7s, just in terms of the route concepts. There was a lot of creativity, three-man concepts. There's a lot of that to try to find spacing, create truly one-on-one matchups, and then identify and just give your guy a chance. It felt like a lot of that, but that's always something that I've really liked about John Morton, is that he seemingly creates very creative pass game concepts from where he was in the past. Even going back to the Jets, he was very good at doing that. And I think that was a huge takeaway for me today was not only some of the creativity there, but also the way that they're using these different types of receivers. Like, the way that they've used Isaac Teslaa is very clear. Like, he's going to go up and get it one-on-one. We don't even have to back shoulder that. We can go right over the top. And he does that. Then you have a guy like Lovett who's very productive, first level, second level. Like, they're really using these guys to their strength. Seemingly are challenging some of these outside guys. I think St. Brown ran like a deep comeback that was essentially picked off by Terrion, but it was out of bounds. It was just that good of coverage. That being said, though, I do like some of the route types they're asking. The red zone drills, and this is where things started to get really strong. This is where I was able to see a lot of what was happening here. You got Jamison Williams, who won underneath, got away from Amik Robertson, and then he ended up trying to dunk it, get things started, bring a lot of juice there. He definitely brings a lot of juice. I don't think he actually completed the dunk. I'm pretty sure he hit the rim and it bounced off. It wasn't the cleanest thing in the world, but it was a big run after catch opportunity there. It wasn't like he caught it in the end zone. He was pretty far away. He just ran into the end zone after catching it underneath. I think he ran some sort of whip route. It felt like it was a little bit longer. It had to be more complex than just a drag, but maybe it was. Regardless, he separated, tried to dunk afterwards, but he scored a touchdown there. Then we had that quick hitch route over to Khalif Raymond. Rocky Sin was in at cornerback at this point, so he was getting some of those reps for DJ Reed, which is a great opportunity for him. Then we had an inbreaker that was caught by Khalif Raymond on third down. Rocky Sin was all over his back on this one, and it was a great grab by Khalif Raymond. So still him being just Mr. Reliable, quick hitch, that makes sense, hit him in the slot, and then over the middle of the field. And a lot of, like, again, these, you didn't get a ton of passes that were out immediately. Like, some things took some time to develop because it felt like they were trying to run like these three-man combos where it was like, let's wheel this guy off, let's break him on a post, like that kind of, we're going to stack him up, right? We'll put him in a bunch and we're going to have him separate. You felt like you had some of that. You also felt like you had legitimate good coverage downfield, so you kind of had to come back underneath. Like, not every time, but you felt a lot of that. Covered well. They hit Shane Zylstra into the flat, but it was blown up. Brian Branch just smacked him out of bounds. Probably gained 0 yards on that play. Maybe one, maybe lost a yard. Blown up out of bounds. And then it was Derek Barnes working in coverage on the flat. It was really good, just working across the field late on the play. So, again, good coverage downfield. They were forced to go underneath there. And then it was Tom Kennedy who came through. He ran like a mesh route. Really good timing again. Like, the throws that were on time felt like they were in a really good spot. You just had some plays that just seemingly came out kind of late, especially from Jared Goff, because, you know, there's just good coverage downfield. I mean, it didn't mean it's horrendous. It was like, oh, throw it, dude. But it was like, okay, they're covering pretty well. He's got to come back underneath. Shane Zylstra, who got open on Boodle, it was incomplete. It was thrown out in front of him towards like the pylon, the front pylon. That was good coverage, I thought, by Strickland. Worked himself underneath the play, got into a solid spot. Boodle seemingly gave up some separation there, but the throw was out in front, and it ended up being incomplete to Zylstra. And again, this is where Hendon Hooker was playing. Hooker was working with the second team. And you had Tom Kennedy, who scored a touchdown. He ran, again, one of those three-man concepts, kind of like a wheel route out to the back pylon. He ends up making a fantastic grab. It was well contested in the end zone. We had a few of those. That was a money throw. It was a beautiful catch by Tom Kennedy coming through. A couple of big plays now that I'm remembering from him now. We also had a pass to Isaac Teslaa. This one was really covered well by the second unit. He ran like a skinny post in the front of the end zone, and it seemed like nothing was really there, and he threw it well over Isaac Teslaa's head. I think it's just because it was that good of coverage. From my viewpoint, I couldn't really tell if he was just throwing it away, but it seemed like really strong coverage. And Teslaa's a big dude, so I don't hate that. Like, go high to that guy in the front of the end zone. That makes some sense there. You'd rather do that in the back of the end zone, but it was incomplete there. Good coverage. Quick underneath, they went to Dominic Lovett to get things going again, and then they ran a little curl route on the outside, and Boodle was in pretty good spot there, but the ball was out so early from Hooker. It was weird. It was like the timing fell off because it looked like he threw the ball too early. Like, you were trying to throw it at the break. He threw it. Maybe the route time was just thrown off because Boodle was kind of all over him, but by the time he threw and the ball was out, like, the receiver wasn't even like getting to his break really at that point. So the ball was well incomplete, kind of thrown straight over his head, and then they went back to Dominic Lovett underneath, I think, with a little drag. So he was just productive. Dominic Lovett's just productive right now, and I love the way that they're using him. Feels like it fits his strength, and he feels very reliable to this point. Again, if I think one of these could have been Malik Taylor that I've mentioned so far, so if it was, I apologize, or someone else. Brock Wright then had a touchdown on the sideline from Kyle Allen, swung it out to the running back again. Kyle Allen was 6 for 6 through these drills. Goff was 5 for 6. I think Hendon Hooker was 3 for 6 going through the 7-on-7s. Hooker was just a little off some timing, and he was a little bit high a couple of times, as mentioned. But Kyle Allen, while most of these passes were underneath, you had that big touchdown to Brock Wright to kind of get things started. And I think that it may not have been considered a touchdown. It could have been like inside the 5 because he kind of ran it in afterwards, but he caught like a deep out, it looked like, towards the sideline. And then you had a drag that was covered really well. Zeke Turner, who had good coverage on the play, he ends up being there to limit any kind of run after catch. But the reception was allowed. Zeke Turner caught my eye a few times. Nothing outstanding, like oh, wow, that spectacular play. But he was around the ball a lot. He was around the ball in the run game. He was pretty efficient in coverage, it felt like. He'll be someone, again, he's already someone to keep an eye on as we go into this year, someone that they could really like. Fake swing, like a drag route behind it, but I love that concept because when they ran the swing route, it pulled the outside zone defender. So when he was able to pump fake and he came back to the drag, by the time it was crossing through, it was crossing past a zone into the zone of now where the outside defender was. So you had a window there that Kyle Allen was able to hit. It was just a really nice job of like, okay, we're creating windows. Did that to Keeney James, who ended up finding the reception. Taylor, who ran a drag, sat it down in zone coverage, ended up picking up a short gain. And then on third down, they ended up hitting Dominic Lovett for a toe tap back of the end zone. Touchdown, covered really well. When he caught that, I was like, that was Lovett? Like, what? That was nasty. We got back to the 11-on-11 drills after kind of working through that one set of 7-on-7s. And again, we're kind of staying more so towards the red zone here. You started off with Aiden Hutchinson noticeably got pressure on the first play that I had, and that was when Terrion had the interception. I think he was clearly out of bounds. Came back to a comeback route on I think it was the field side, so it was pretty far. Terrion was all over it, and he kind of just threw the ball out of bounds after he took it away, but he was all over the play there. It seemed like maybe he's even more so of a throwaway, but it came out a little bit, I think, late. Not late in terms of timing of the route, but like it wasn't seemingly the first place we were looking to go on that play. So covered well. Pressure from Aiden Hutchinson will do things like that for sure. Then Davenport off the left side, I think he ended up, kind of creating a sack on the next play. The play was kind of blown dead, and I think that was Davenport who ended up just kind of creating some disruption. They then threw a fade route to Khalif Raymond on Amik Robertson, and this one was covered really well. He ended up trying to just get out of there, and Amik was all over him. There was no space at all. Ball was thrown well incomplete on the play. You could see that's just not open. There was really no safety help. He was truly one-on-one. He was going towards the outside. There was nobody over top, and he was just all over him. Now, later on, Khalif would get him back, but this first time around, he was all over him trying to work into the end zone. They end up moving up the ball, so you can see there wasn't a ton of success there, but they moved the ball, they go to Monty, and then they kind of worked into the second team here with Hendon Hooker. And getting into the second team, it starts off with an incomplete pass, kind of going to the flat. This little run by Craig Reynolds. Again, Craig Reynolds had some real success. I think it was like an outside zone they kind of went to. And then on their third down, ended up hitting Kenny Yeboah. He was running into the flat. He was wide open. And he just tiptoed up the sideline to like the 5-yard line. So it was a really nice feel. It was also seemingly a really good concept. Dude was wide open. And he just easily picked up the first down with run after catch. I think people were like, Kenny? I don't know. Maybe I heard that. I don't know. But either way, it was cool. Like, it just felt like a moment there for Kenny Yeboah. I love it. And that's what he was with the Jets. It's like run after catch, get the ball to him in the flats. It's exactly what it looked like. Also, I saw Horton working as a traditional fullback going into that offset eye. Short run the very next play. Short catch with some pressure. I think Keith Cooper was the guy there. I couldn't completely tell. A short pass underneath. And then I did notice Miles Adams the next play creating some pressure. But this was also a Dominic Lovett touchdown. They caught it just short of the end zone, and they ended up kind of all swarming together, and the whole team shoved him into the end zone. So they ended up calling it a touchdown. It was just in front of the end zone. But I did feel some heat there from Miles Adams, right? He came out of the play in the backfield. Run stop, and it was Raekwon Williams, Isaac Ukwu, who were kind of mixed in. I did get to see Ukwu after practice. That dude is massive. I'm looking at him like I don't know who that is. That's a big dude. I got to some special teams, and then we got back into it with the 11-on-11. Tyleik Williams was in the game, and I think this is where things really kind of wrapped up here. We had a quick little out pattern to the tight end to get things started. Then they hit Jamison Williams on the right sideline. The reception pushed himself out of bounds there. Had a nice little grab just for some efficiency, and then that's when they hit Khalif Raymond with a big touchdown. Khalif Raymond ended up catching this deep crosser on Amik Robertson, scored a touchdown. I think he spun him out and just took off, but he had a lot of space. Davenport created a little bit of pressure. I felt his presence for sure on that. And again, that makes some sense because we don't have Taylor Decker out there, so you would expect some of this to have some real success. He should, but this was a big play by the offense, and he was just kind of running free. So after that happened, after he was just running free and they scored beating Amik Robertson, you get that second unit. You start off with a short run. They go to a quick little flat pattern. Tristan Colon was on the ground. I don't think he lost his block, but he was on the ground afterwards. And then they went and took a deep shot to, I think it was Isaac Teslaa. And I don't think he finished here. I think it was jarred out to the ground. I like it, though, because it's like in the past with John Morton, we kind of ran a lot of those back shoulder plays, but with him, it's like we don't even have to go back shoulder. They're just throwing it up. Like it's one-on-one, just put it over top of the defender and just let him go get it. Morton off to the side was seemingly very visibly working with his quarterbacks in terms of ball placement. Here's where we want the ball. He had guys standing there with their hands open, like this is where we want it for this. And you could tell that he was seemingly breaking it down towards like this is the play we have. That's where we need the ball to go. And he was very fixated on where was the ball placement going to be and having that target point. So it felt like every deep pass to Teslaa was to the same point. And then on third down, they kind of went to an outside run, and it was Ezekiel Turner who was all over it. Zeke Turner had some success there. Quick throw to the flat, and then we get to Kyle Allen, and this was a big run. I was shocked. Like there was some real edge pressure here. Stepped up. I don't think it was a sack. I don't think it collapsed there. Got out of the pocket, and he took off, and he actually had a pretty nice run. He picked up a first down getting out. It was probably around 10 yards. It was a nice little scramble from Kyle Allen. He showed some real juice getting out of the pocket. It threw me off at first, but it was nice, and I believe that was also against Zeke Turner. They brought him off the edge on like a blitz. They had another edge rusher on the backside. May have been Nate Lynn, and they ended up getting a little bit of pressure, collapsing it. Turner from off-ball linebacker makes sense that he would have read that and said, let me get upfield because the linebacker's no longer to play. So, again, just good processing by Kyle Allen. That's what's noticeable. Hallett then stepped into the box, made a really nice stop at the line of scrimmage. Ended up going to a boot play. That was quickly thrown away and incomplete. Johnny Bell had this deep dig route where he was just racing over the middle of the field, and they ended up hitting him on his deep second-level pass, running away from coverage. He created a good amount of separation there. Ronnie Bell created a really good amount of separation, had this big play over the middle, and then Shane Zilster was missing in some fullback, showing some of his flexibility off as well. They went back to a boot play, and immediately, like, this was dead. I mean, he got outside the pocket, and he was forced out of bounds very quickly by the defense. I think it was Strickland who was racing down, and it kind of just shot him outside. I thought at first, like, okay, there's nothing there to take off. And that window closed fast. I don't know how much he gave, maybe a yard or two on the play. It was closed off pretty quickly. That's when I had Muhammad noted for a run stop. I think it was him. Craig had a nice little run. And to end the practice, it was Isaac Teslaa who had that one-on-one opportunity again. The dude's so big, at first I thought it was Luke Deal. I'm like, is that Luke Deal who caught that? That doesn't seem right. Like, maybe. I don't know why they would throw that to Deal, but maybe. Turns out, I guess it was Isaac Teslaa who just made that kind of grab where it was like the same idea, like right on long left sideline, go up and get it. And this one, I think could have been like a touchdown. It was a big play. Everybody was pretty fired up afterwards. So it was great to see Teslaa finish like that. But as you can tell, the rookie receivers are very involved. They're very impactful. Meeks, maybe the catch of the day. Teslaa had a fantastic one. Lovett had multiple. I mean, these guys are making plays. All of these young receivers are very involved. The quarterback position feels like it's in a really strong spot right now, right? You can see the ups and downs seemingly with Hooker, but you can also see some differences in what they can do with him, right? There's definitely different differences in terms of the playbook they throw at him, which is nice. They're playing to his skill set. Goff just felt in really good timing for the most part. The defense is – they're going to make you work. Like, they make a lot of tight window throws, be the case. We don't have officials out there, but I couldn't tell on any flags. But the point is, they make those guys work. So maybe I'll get a better sense Monday. We get back to some one-on-ones. They make those guys work, though. The linebacker position is in an interesting spot. We got to see Anthony Pittman make some plays there. We got a lot of rotational things going on there. But ultimately, I love the way that they're using these offensive weapons to this point, right? The way that they're mixing in these receivers, using them to their strengths. That's the big takeaway from the offensive side of the ball for me, is how they're using these guys. And defensively, I really like some of the drills that they were doing. Picking up routes in the back of the end zone, like deep crossers, and then being able to pass those things off. Like, they were doing that before they even got to team drills. So seeing just that kind of focus and the emphasis on that kind of communication was nice to see. There felt like there was some legitimate pressure at a lot of different times today. That felt noticeable. Again, no Taylor Decker, kind of throws it off, but you did feel, I think, a lot of that, and there was some run stuffs that were truly in there. You had some successful runs, though, as well. It got relatively balanced as the day went on through the 11-on-11s. It was just early. It was kind of hard to gauge. Like, is this, how much do I really want to take for this? Bates seemingly was pretty good kicking the football. I think he was 3 for 3. I don't know the distances, but I think he was 3 for 3. He ended up hitting one off the crossbar, warming up, but I think he was 3 for 3, kicking pretty well. So ultimately, I love the emphasis on the special teams. A lot of special teams work in there, and this was a lot of fun to get things going. So with that, I'll leave it there. Again, there's probably a lot of things I missed. I may have said the wrong name in a couple spots. I apologize, so just keep that in mind. But better notes Monday for sure. We'll have a lot more to discuss. But to wrap up the week, this is a great way. Shout out to Brad Holmes chilling in the background. Banks gave me that thing is fire, by the way. Brad Holmes chilling back there. I love that. We got some cool thing. Got a Hutchinson thing. Got to figure out where to put him. I don't want to put him up there yet, but I got to figure out where to put it. That's sick. I'm going to leave it there. Shout out to y'all for joining. I appreciate it. Thank you, Brad, for watching.